Good evening, everyone. My name is Lefo. I will be the host for tonight's recital. Thank you so much for being here tonight as we gather, not only to hear beautiful music from our own Yen Tong, but to witness a story, a cultivation of her journey and her hard work for the past 4 years, and endless before that. This is the senior recital of Yen. But tonight is more than just about violin. It's about heart. It's about the quiet growth that happens across the years, the strength forged in challenges, and the joy born in friendship and collaboration. With that, Yen's story will be told in a very grand gesture tonight. It will be told through beautiful hymns and songs and melodies. Her growth tonight is for you all to witness, because you are all a part of her growth journey. So with that, I would like to introduce our very own Yen Tong.
Hi, thank you everyone for coming. This recital is a celebration of my musical journey of my life, and I hope you enjoy this short and sweet performance. I've really worked hard on it, and the first piece is a duet with my beloved violin teacher, Miss Jane, and I hope you really enjoy it.
The beginning of her journey, I came, she said. As a freshman, she came out into the world of high school with wonder and quiet nerves. She brought her violin and a love for music, a deep desire to find her own place, her own talent. She may have come softly, but with full intention. So with that, the very first piece is with the person that started it all, the music teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause. Aurora, ladies and gentlemen, a Latin Spanish love hymn. And up next, the first word that we spoke about tonight was I came. Now we transition into her sophomore year. I saw. Sophomore year brought clear vision. She began to see what she was capable of, not only musically, but more personally. She saw the value of friendship, the joy of ensemble, the strength of her faith, and the power of her own voice through the strings and the beautiful pieces that she plays. I invite you to shift into one of the great romantic works of the violin repertoire, the Violin Concerto in E minor by Felix Mendelssohn. Tien will perform this with her beloved older brother, Yen Tong. Let's give them a big round of applause, please. Kính thưa ông bà ngoại, cũng như là bác Công và bác Nga và gia đình của Thi Yên, các bạn bè xa gần đã đến. Hôm nay đó, lý do tại sao Thi Yên chọn cái bài vừa qua để mà cùng nhau thể hiện và thực hiện với anh trai của mình. If you all listen to the piece has a lot of suspenseful moment. It has a lot of ups and downs. There are tunes that are soft. There are tunes that are high. It tells and embraces Tien and that story, their own personal story. The growth that the sibling between Tien and Yat has shaped throughout the years was exemplified and shown in that piece. There were whimsical moments. There are moments of playfulness and suspense. There are moments of maybe even anger. But ultimately, through it shines moments of love and great, great respect and value for each other. And that's why I believe Tien chose that piece to be played with her beloved brother this evening. As the musician takes some time to prepare the next piece, we continue down the story of her growth journey. I came, I saw. Tien đã đến đâu? Những bước chân đầu đời thì có bố mẹ rồi, nhưng những bước chân khi mà chập chững trong vấn đề nghệ thuật, vấn đề âm nhạc, lúc đó cũng có bố mẹ, lúc đó cũng có những người thân yêu để mà dẫn dắt và dẫn dắt Thi Yên. Tien đã đến để học, đến để có thể phát triển bản thân. She came to grow. She came to embrace her own musical talent. Then she saw a lot of challenges along the way, a lot of obstacles that has hindered her from showcasing her full potential. She saw, now I invite you to journey with us as she learned. Now entering junior year, it's no longer coming, it's no longer seeing, it's now about learning. Learning the challenges, learning the obstacles, and ultimately learning who she is becoming. Tonight, we learn how she gracefully and humbly embraced her own talent, her own gifts that God has given to her, embracing her own family, her own parents as people who has paved that path. With that, our very next piece I actually don't know what our next piece is. Our very next piece is the piano quintet in F minor by Jonas Brahms. And joining with Tien are her fellow musicians and her friends, Sophia, Pinto, Sadie, Nathan, and Joseph. Let's give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. absolutely beautiful. The journey I came, I saw, I learned. There, she learned to do that beautifully. With that, we're entering our very, very last piece. And before we all enjoy the very last piece that Tien has prepared for us, I would like to invite and reintroduce to you all our very own Tien Pao once more time onto the stage. Tien, can we see you, please? Let's give Tien another great round of applause again.
I would like to say a few words before my last piece. First off, thank you to my bronze quintet that just played. I don't know if they can hear me, but thank you for making the time to perform at my senior recital. And thank you to Joseph for being my designated page turner. And it has been such a pleasure playing with y'all for these past months. To my brother, Nya, thank you for your efforts and time that you have lovingly put into our performance today. I'm so blessed to have a brother that I can call my music buddy. To my violin teacher, Miss Jang, words cannot describe this journey you have guided me on. Only by your countless hours of dedication am I the musician I am today. In your studio, I learned violin techniques, but unexpectedly, you also promoted growth in my own personal journey. These last months playing with you have helped me appreciate your hard work, dedication, and musicianship, which have inspired me every Friday for the last 6 years. Can you please come on stage? I have something for you. To Strict Jesuit, thank you for allowing me to use this memorable venue. Thank you, Dr. H, for guiding me throughout high school and encouraging my love for music, and thank you for capturing this milestone event on camera. This hall contains 4 years of goofy and meaningful memories and growth that I will always carry with me. To my godmother, Gumui, where are you? Okay, she's here. Thank you for being the encouragement I need to deepen my love for music in my life. To Einfo, thank you for being an amazing master of ceremony tonight and for your eagerness to help me share my story. To my stage crew, Hung and Ikana, thank you for making this recital possible behind the scenes. To my parents, thank you for your constant investment in my quality education that created the person I am today. Thank you for incorporating music into my life and allowing me to fulfill my passions. All this would certainly not be possible without your guidance, emotional support, and belief in me. In my 18 years, the most important things you have taught me is to be compassionate and to serve selflessly, because God has blessed me with many gifts. And truly, I am blessed with such a beautiful and wonderful mother and father. That's it. I hope you enjoy this last piece. It's short and sweet, and it's also fun.
And now the journey ends with I love. I came, I saw, I learned, and now I love. Now as a senior, Tien says, I love. She loves the sound of laughter with friends and all of her musician friends. The trembling silence before the first note, the moment she didn't feel ready but performed anyways. She loves the messy parts, the nerves, the miscues, the mistakes, because they shape her just as much as all her accomplishments. She loves the person she has become, because she knows that every trial, every triumph, every challenge, every prayer, and every performance help write her musical story. So tonight we end with I love. Tien has loved who she has become, and she is loving the journey she is beginning to embark on. I love, ladies and gentlemen, Yen Tong. Let's give it for Yen Tong, guys. And to the friends who have asked Yen why she's only doing 4 songs, that's exactly why we just finished in 15 minutes. If you were requesting for an extra 4, you would have to plan for a 2-hour-long stay. So we're glad it's over. No, but thank you to each and every one of you for being present here tonight. It means a lot to Tien. Tonight wasn't just a recital, it was honestly a reflection at a young woman who came, who saw, who learned, and who loved, who is now standing and performing in front of us like a professional musician, filled with love for music, love for her family, love for her friends who are here tonight, love ultimately for God, for her faith, and above all, love for the imperfectness of who she is, the beautiful journey that brought her here. So tonight, with I Love, Tia wanted to share her story with you all. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And with that, I invite Tia back, Tia to get back into the stage. Con cũng xin mời bác Nga cũng như là bác Công là bố mẹ rất là thân yêu của Tien lên sân khấu với chúng ta một đôi lời. And now for the parents of Tien Tong, the people who have shaped her into who she is today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Công Tong and Lou.
Thank you everyone for coming to my beautiful recital today. I'm so proud because it's people every time except sometimes. I'm so proud. And thank you my wife for taking her to the lesson every time, and she's the one who make everything happen, not me.
Con cảm ơn ông bà ngoại, các cậu chú các bác, tất cả các bạn với lại bạn của chị Yên. Thật là xúc động khi mà các ông bà về, các cô chú các bác và các bạn đến đây để nghe chị Yên rất là trong cái buổi chủ nhật này. Thật thời gian thật là quý báu mà các ông bà với các bác đến đây, các bạn lên đây nghe chị Yên thật làm cho gia đình ông Nga với chị Yên rất là cảm động. Xin tạ Chúa là hai cháu đã lớn và trưởng thành ngày hôm nay trong nhiều năm học, đã 10 năm rồi. Nhiều khi vừa học vừa khóc nhiều mà mẹ nó vẫn bắt nó học. I'm a tiger mom, and sometimes I make her cry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Sometimes mẹ nó quit, but I am not a quitter, so I'm very persistent and patient sometimes, but I'm not patient all the time. But Miss Jack is very patient with her too, and I really appreciate your dedication to her music. And I know you taught her more than just music. And a lot of hours I sit down and take notes, and I also take note what you say during the lesson too. So I really do appreciate your help for the past 6 years now. And keep growing with your help. And how she played today is more from you. I'm really thankful for a teacher like you. She really sees about a good teacher. So she very lucky. Xin cảm ơn mọi người.
Again, and thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate your presence tonight, and cảm ơn ông bà ngoại, các bác, các cô và các chú đã tới ủng hộ con hôm nay.
Once again, after this, the family invites you all to join them outside for some quick snack and drinks. Again, thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you, everyone.